Hey guys, welcome back to Maelstrom Gaming Studios. I'm Craig.
And I'm Connor.
And we've not done a video like this in a long time where Connor and I are sitting down together and talking, but we recently went through Renegade 2023. Together we did the doubles event, and then I took place, and Matt, but he's not here, in the singles GT, and we're going to talk about our thoughts of Renegade and how everything went, give some game recaps, and so on. So, before we dive in, just want to say thank you to all of our members and everyone who likes and subscribes, keeps up to date on our content. It really means a lot. We are pushing just over 7,000 subscribers, coming towards the end of 2023, which is crazy.
I didn't realize that.
It's pretty cool to be that high up. And again, thank you to our members and all of you who allow us to keep doing and have fun creating content for you guys and getting terrain and all sorts of good stuff. A lot of things planned, hopefully to come in through the end of this year and into next year. So, with all out of the way, let's dive into today's video. Renegade 2023, this was the big GT. This is the biggest one we host in Minnesota every year. This was a ton of events, not just 40k related, but there's Sigmar, Kill Team, Heresy, non-Games Workshop related ones like that's Games Workshop, Kings of War, Battletech, Bolt Action, tons and tons of events. Unfortunately, you can only take part in so many. So Connor and I, like I said, we did do the doubles, and then Matt and I took place in the singles event. There was a live stream done by Wargames Live. Unfortunately, we weren't on it. However, if you go to game 5 of the singles, I was in the table right behind it, so you saw me a lot. Nice. As I played my knight opponent for that round. But we'll get into the doubles, because that's what Connor and I did. So I already touched on the list once in a video, but just to recap, it was Custodes versus Grey Knights.
Custodes and Grey Knights.
Sorry, Custodes and Grey Knights.
Sure,
yes,
yeah.
Custodes and Grey Knights.
Together this time.
My list was all about scoring secondaries. Tracy dropped
Leave that
something.
in. Leave that in.
She dropped something down the stairs. My list was all about scoring secondaries. I had a Brotherhood Librarian with the Sigil. I had Crow with his Purifier squad. I had 2 Strike squads, 2 Interceptor squads, and then a Purgation squad for that good indirect Flamer opportunity.
And for me, I had basically 3 squads technically. A Terminator Captain with Ceaseless Hunter, which did come up.
It did.
Once,
yeah.
Finally.
Yeah, definitely.
Craig always avoids letting me use it. And a Blade Champion. So those 2 squads, I had a little squad of 4 Prosecutors, but the Terminator Captain was leading 6 Terminators. The Blade Champion was leading 5 Custodian Guard. So I basically had 2 powerful squads, and Craig scored all of our points.
All the other points.
that was the battle plan.
It worked out really well. It was just, I'm going to do the secondary stuff, and you're going to beat down the opponent in the middle.
Which is mostly what happened.
One recap, against Space Marines and AdMech, both had some devastating units in theirs, and as well a decent complement of units to score secondaries. For the Space Marines, Connor got to play against the Aggressor Bomb for the first time.
Yes.
The 6 aggressors with the character, giving them in the strat to give them AP2 is a nasty combination.
It's insane, yeah.
And then being the Raven Guard, they could come off the edge of the table and then come back on and somewhere else through Strategic Reserve. They had the 6-man Breacher squad with the Manipulus to give them the lethal and sustained hits.
So like 2 giant,
2 very killy
powerful
blocks.
Shooting blocks, and then a bunch of scoring stuff.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We thought, okay, we have this, and then turn 1 happened, and Connor lost 4 out of his 5 Custody Guard.
We both miscalculated in different ways the Breachers being able to see the Guard. I forgot that they would get Assault, so he advanced.
And then shot him.
Got sight on my 3-wound Custodian Guard, and killed 4 out of the 5 of them.
Yep.
So it was just the Blade Champion and 1
one
guard left on turn 1.
I did not think he would come closer with that. I really thought he was going to stay back. I mean, that hurt him in the end because your Terminators eventually just got to stick him.
That's true.
But I was not anticipating him to move closer with that unit. Oh, but yeah, so it was pretty much just the Grey Knights did their thing. They scored their secondaries. They controlled all the primary. And then the Terminators dropped down and just took them to town.
Yeah. dropped down behind a building.
Yep.
At Rapid Ingress.
Yeah, Rapid Ingress.
Rapid Ingress, and then I walked up and charged them. Big Squad Terminators did not kill all of them, but they killed enough that it kind of took them out of the game.
He used the once per game 4-up invuln on them,
Oh, yeah.
which allowed them to
They would have been on
live.
5-ups then. Yeah.
Yeah, 5-ups on
Instead of
them,
4.
which made them live.
Yeah.
But the damage was already done. We had killed, between all the bolter fire and everything, we pretty much killed everything else. It was just the 2 big blocks left.
Yep.
And they were, at that point, out of the game, far enough to really do too much to it.
Aggressors were untouched. They
did, yeah.
just came in, shot my Terminators, and that was kind of
That was it. That was it for them. They were in the back of their deployment zone at that point.
Yeah.
Game 2 was against a double Necron list. So the way their doubles worked is that if both your armies had the right keywords, then your strats and your abilities could work with each other. So people playing 2 Necrons could help each other out by, your Reanimator could heal the other person's models, and the strats could benefit each other. And yeah, so that worked out in their favor. They got to have a bit more synergy in that aspect. The list was interesting. You had 2 very different Necron lists. One was very vehicle heavy, led by a monolith, and then a bunch of command barges.
Yeah, Annihilation barges, command barge, monolith. Yeah.
I think that was it.
There's the 2 characters.
Oh, and the 2 characters.
2 like lone characters.
Yep. And then the other one was much more infantry heavy, so it had the 9 score packs.
Looks like one of my lists.
It had some flayed ones.
Yeah.
They didn't have any warriors or immortals.
None.
Nope.
They had Tomb Blades, flayed ones.
Tomb Blades, that's the other thing.
Yeah. It was just a bunch of different units.
That you don't see often.
Yeah.
And it was still a scary list, but we got turn 2.
Which was huge.
Which helped,
in that
or
game.
I should say bottom of turn. So we went second, which helped out a lot.
Yeah.
Allowing him, which was much more melee focused, to come close to us. Again, Connor's Terminators just really did the dirty work.
They did.
They butchering score packs, killing just about everything that came near them.
It was over half my 1,000-point list, so
It makes sense that they did that. And the Grey Knights in that case, they had some pretty good rolls that I had like a 1 and 2 model, bunch of 1 and 2 model units that allowed them to keep popping up and scoring points as single models.
Yeah.
Worked out very well. The Terminator Librarian did fine, scored points, mortal wounds some things, but overall, it was a good game. 95-74.
The Monolith.
My
first time seeing the Monolith, and unless you have a really specific squad or weapon, you can't really
hurt it.
You can't really hurt it. I mean, you can chip it.
Toughness 14.
Yeah, with like I think it's 20 wounds.
20 wounds.
And it heals every turn.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we did 1 wound at the end of the game. There was 1 wound on it.
Yeah,
maybe.
We had done like 5 probably.
And then it healed. Yeah.
us.
So although very good, and we're happy with that one.
2 wins so far.
Yeah, 2 wins so far. And then we go into game 3, which is against Admech again, and Tyranids this time as a combination. So that worked out pretty well, as in I knew Tyranids, so I knew what they were going to try and do to us. And then we had just played against a very similar list. Actually, it was pretty identical list. Yeah. 1 or 2 units swapped out. So we already knew what we were going to go up against in that. So we had an idea of how this game was going to go. This mission was very annoying. This was the ritual.
So weird.
Which is a very tricky one of just spawning objectives and trying to keep up on primary.
Yeah.
For the Tyranids, they had a Emissary, an Exocrine, Zoanthropes, Biovert, and 2 Neurolictors. That was it. No Gons, no Gargoyles, nothing else there.
Yeah.
The Admech, again, same thing. 6 Breachers, Rangers, Vanguard, a Transport, and then some Taser and Laser chickens.
Yeah, big squad of 3, las cannon chickens.
The game was pretty close back and forth.
For a while.
3 to 4 turns we were trading. They had a little bit of a turn advantage on us.
Yes.
They had scored a little bit better in primary, and we had a little less on primary, but secondary was pretty tied. And then going into turn 4, Shadow in the Warp came.
I failed almost all of them.
It was unfortunate. Yeah.
It's so devastating to get Shadow in the Warp and just keep failing all of them.
Terminators failed. The Sisters failed.
Guard failed.
The Guard failed.
So yeah, I failed all 3.
You failed all 3. I failed 1 or 2, but those ones didn't matter.
Nope.
We had lost 10 primary points, which really set us back.
So we basically would have been, I think we would have been 5 behind if we passed all of them.
Yep. Had we passed them, we would have been just like 5 points
So
behind
almost
them.
tied.
Yep.
But instead we're kind of right in the middle, second half of the game where we kind of know.
It wasn't enough to keep up. It was unfortunate because we were looking for 6s on those dice because lead 5 and -1 because of I didn't put neurotyrant. There's a neurotyrant in there, which made that shot on the warp more painful, as you guys all know.
Yeah.
It was really unfortunate because had we passed those, we had a game plan to take out the destroyers and get back into the game.
And it was a really good game.
It was.
It was
a very
very
good
back and forth.
Back and forth killing. We pretty much butchered the Tyranids out of the game right off the bat. Connor
Emissary
did a very good job at taking out the emissary. He rolled pretty good on his saves, and it stayed alive.
It survived a lethal hits, +1 to wound, full rerolls, full squad of 7 Terminators.
Yep. It was good.
It was a great game.
It was very good. We just not quite there. Our plan for killing these Cataphrons. Now, some other things. The AdMech opponent had some very good rolls.
Yes. Extremely.
I dumped over 30 Stormbolter shots into a squad of Rangers and only killed 5 of them.
He did juice them up.
He did
use the
use
stratagem
to go to ground, give him a 3-up save.
Right.
But still 30 of them hitting on 3s, winning on 3s, and then 3-up saves. I should have killed pretty much almost all of them.
I've never seen the AdMech in 10th edition look so good.
He
This
played
guy
him
really
well.
knew what he was doing.
He played
Shout
him
out
really
to you
well.
if you're watching.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but
He might be. So in our turn,
I just can't believe how strong that squad is.
with the sustained and lethals, a good Overwatch
And
roll.
shooting back at you.
Yep.
On your turn.
In our turn, this Cataphron squad killed the 5 guard and 5 Terminators, or 4 Terminators in our turn.
Yeah.
Which was unfortunate. Had we done different order, probably would have been a different game, but I don't think we would have won because we were down so far in primary.
Yeah. I think it would have been closer to like 60, 70.
Yeah.
60 to 70, but
still good.
Yeah.
MVP, no one really stood out. We could say the Terminators again because they just butchered and controlled the center.
Yeah.
We're gonna give it to the Grey Knight Librarian because standalone.
So much damage.
He spawned 2 objectives.
Yeah.
Had primary points, and then did a good amount of damage with his little shenanigans there.
That's good to know. Like, that is a unit that can kill.
It's a powerful combo there.
Yeah.
So that is how we wrap up our doubles. So we went 2 and 3. These guys who we lost to did win best overall. So we were competing.
Playing the best of the best.
We were competing for the best there. Had we won, talking to the judge guy after, Jake, watching you, had we won, probably chance it would have been us to win it all, but you never know unless it happens. So still good game. That was Connor's first tournament.
It was my first tournament ever.
Doubles tournament, still first overall.
Yeah.
We'll probably do it again next year.
Totally.
Definitely, we'll be back prepared. Same rules, except Custodians will have a codex by then, and maybe something different.
Different points. We'll see.
Yeah, so then we'll go into the GT. So this will just be me now. Connor will listen to how GT went for me. So this ended up being an 80-player tournament, 5 rounds, meaning we did end up with 3 undefeateds. Huge host of armies. Some notable ones that there was a lot of were a good amount of Tyranids, a good amount of Chaos Space Marine, and there was a decent amount of Death Guard specifically, and World Eaters. They really, the Chaos Space Marine, they're everywhere. I know some guys who played Chaos Space Marines like 3 or 4 rounds each. So they just were up against them over and over and over.
It's such a good army, too.
It's a good army. There was a lot of them.
Yeah.
A single Tau, single Grey Knight, 1 or 2 demons, a few Mechanicus. Every Mechanicus list was the big old 18 breachers, which is insane.
I mean, it has to be.
It has to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, overall, good game, or a good amount of players and variety. Going to my list, I've talked about this list plenty, so I won't go into it too much in detail here. This was my Assimilation Swarm list. This, in my opinion, was the best way to get Assimilation Swarm to work.
Yeah.
And outside of Death Guard, this list, I think, has a shot to beat just about anybody. Death Guard just have the right tools to...
Specifically, Plague Burst Crawlers.
Yes, and everyone's running a ton of those.
Yeah.
Not being able to have my units on the board hiding and waiting, Plague Burst Crawlers can just delete them.
Yeah.
And they are a relatively tough army. It is just a tough matchup. So, again, my list did well, not as well as I had hoped in the GT. Going into the first game, unfortunately, like I said, I got a Death Guard matchup round 1.
Ooh.
And what sucks was this was the same, nothing against my opponent. Opponent's a great guy. But last GT, this was the same guy I played round 1. But at the time, it was Dark Eldar that had a very good matchup into my army.
2 years in a row?
2 years in a row, played him round 1.
Fought this guy with the counter that countered you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Last year was with my, I guess it was in the spring, was my Gorgon, Nids, and Dark Eldar are very good at killing Hormiguns and Carnifexes.
Wow.
And that was my list. So that one did all right. So yeah, not the great first matchup. All I asked for was please no Death Guard until day 2. And it was game 1.
Yeah.
It's pretty standard list. Mortarion, 3 Plague Burst Crawlers, a bunch of Plague Marines, some drones, and a ton of characters.
Did you take Assassinate?
No, I really thought about doing Assassinate and bring it down. I'm glad I didn't because my score would have been way lower than it was.
Just the way it played out.
Just the way it played out. Again, like I said, Death Guard is the worst matchup for Tyranids in my opinion, as a generally thing. They do so well into them. Also with their contagion, the -1 to hit contagion is
very good against Tyranids.
It's very good against Tyranids.
Yeah.
Some other things, dice. I don't want to blame dice because I wasn't going to win this list unless dice were heavily in my favor.
Sure.
But the dice did not go my way. My emissary did not quite make it to outside a line of sight, and all hell broke loose on her. Everything open fired, and she failed all but one of her Feel No Pains, and died to 2 Poxwalkers. 2 Poxwalkers hit me. They had 2 attacks, right? 2 attacks apiece, or 1 attack apiece. So they hit me twice. They both were 6s, meaning they were lethal. So they automatically wounded.
With AP 0.
I failed my 2-up saves and failed both my 5-up Feel No Pains, and it died.
Man.
That was how that ended. And that was...
You gotta do the math on that. That's
that was
crazy.
turn 1, unfortunately. Like I
How'd they
said...
get so close to you, turn 1?
Because of the middle objective, it was the 18-inch no man's land.
Oh.
So I went close to the center, but I didn't quite... The way terrain ended up being destroyed...
Oh, man.
I didn't quite make it outside of line of sight. So I thought, okay, worst case scenario, the Poxwalkers charge me. And actually that Poxwalker bomb is the only thing that can really outscore the emissary.
Like a big squad of OC2.
They're OC1, but there's 20 of them plus Typhus. So they outdo it, but it was painful. Emissary going down really hurt, and then the Poxwalkers and all the other shots. But it just, game was cracked open. There was nothing I could do. I still managed to pick up 61 points.
Yeah.
It could have been, I could have taken away some points from him and scored a few more points for me. But I admit I got a little tilted from just losing so much in the first few turns that I didn't. I could have scored an extra 10, 15 secondary primary points, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It happened. My only MVP were the Pyrovores because they killed a bunch of stuff, specifically 1 unit. Everything else died. I killed about 8 models at the end of it. Actually 7 because he killed one of his own with a overcharged plasma. But yeah, it was rough and it was quick.
Damn.
So that was that. Game 2 went up against Chaos Knights. Now this Chaos Knights player ended up, also the first Death Guard player, he ended up going 3-2. I actually beat him in the overall rankings at the end, but that is, whatever. Chaos Knight guy ended up winning best overall because best overall at this tournament, we score based on painting as well as playing for best overall. So he ended up going, I believe, 4-1.
Wow.
And had a very beautiful Chaos Knights army. Very beautiful Chaos Knights army.
Cool.
He had the 4 Brigands, 2 Executioners, 3 Stalkers, and Shalaxi Hellbane, which is the named Slanesh Greater Demon. Absolute monster.
Is that the demon with the little gal on his head?
No. That's Shilexi. Shilexi. Very similar names.
Okay.
One's a demon prince with a herald on her back.
That's what I was thinking.
One's a greater demon. This is the greater demon. I played against that one later, spoilers. Okay. But the Keeper of Secrets, named character.
Okay.
Absolute monster. She rerolls hits and wounds and damage rolls against monsters.
Oh boy.
She's just only 4 Pinbone, and that's it, and only T10, but still very terrifying.
She's got other shenanigans though.
She's got decent shooting, a lot of melee.
Yeah.
This was the best game of the weekend by far. The score is low because this is the one where you removed the center objective in primary is very, very low.
Sure.
It's also low because we did not get turn 5 in. A real bummer that turn 5 didn't get in because we looked at it with the cards and stuff that were drawn. I was in an easy position to pick up at least 15, if not 20 points in my final turn. And he was only in position to pick up maybe 10. So it would have been close. We both agreed it likely would have been in my favor, but we just didn't get it in. Maybe I need to invest in a chess clock. Nothing against my opponent, but he was playing where every single knight had the little indirect missile. So every single turn, every single knight was firing D6 missile shots. And it's just over and over and over. And because you don't want to roll them all at once, because what if they kill their target?
It matters.
It was just every single turn you had to roll these over and over and over. And that took a lot of time out of it. It really did. They were important because the knights need that kind of firepower to plink off some of your stuff, but it just took a long time. Maybe next year or next GT I invest in a chess clock, because those are often brought. Would it change the game? Maybe. It's just a bummer that this one came down to it. There's other things that could have just had the game go my favor. My emissary failed her battle shock check because she was on 1 wound, and she failed battle shock, meaning I did not score my secondary because I did not control the objective.
Did she roll 3 dice?
She rolls 3 dice. I rolled a 1, 2, 3.
Oh man.
Yeah, and
1, 2, 3.
Yep.
Also, you failed that leader. What's her leadership?
She is lead 7 or 8. I can't remember which one.
Oh wow.
But 1, 2, 3 is not enough.
Oh man.
So that did not give me primary on that objective. That did not allow me to score that secondary objective. So that right there was 10 points.
Yeah.
So that could have been, it would have been 60 or 59, 51 with that. So that's unfortunate that happened.
Those are your first 2 games.
Those are my first 2 games.
Wow.
It would have been good. The emissary still is the MVP, even though she failed at battle shock, because she took on 2 stalkers and 2 brigands all by herself. Well, I should say totally by herself. She had some Pyrovore help, and she had Neurolictor help, which was most important. The Neurolictor, Battle Shocking Chaos Knights. Chaos Knights only lead 7, so Battle Shocks are very, very good. I almost every turn had at least 2 Knights Battle Shocked. And when the emissary is +1 to wound these things, they're very good. Because
that's when the emissary is actually
it's very scary.
Good at dealing damage.
Because now in the multi-melta, it's 2s and 2s, or 3s and 2s if I was bracketed. And then melee is 2s and 4s, or 3s and 4s, which makes it much more likely that I do damage.
Yeah.
Another dice roll that probably could have helped significantly was my emissary shot a multi-melta, or her, I call it a multi-melta, but her melta into one of the brigands, or one of the stalkers in melee with her. And I needed to do 7 damage on the dice. I was a melta range, so 11 total. I'd already taken a chip wound. Or no, 8. I needed to do 8, and I rolled 7. So I rolled a 6 and a 1. And I thought, okay, I got the CP. If I re-roll this, I'll get a 2 plus, right?
Yeah,
no, I rolled another 1. It lived on 1 wound, and that knight in melee chunked 8 wounds off of me because their melee is D6 plus 2. And had I not taken that damage, I would have been above half strength, and I would have had to take the battle shock later.
So your first 2 games, just these little
things. I mean, this was a great game. It was back and forth. Shalaxi took one of my Harspexes and threw it into another dimension. That is that game. Unfortunate, but still good game. Just unfortunate how it ended. And then we get to the last 3 games, which they're fine.
Whoa, look at that score.
Yep, so game 3 was against Votan. This was just not a great matchup for my opponents. Tyranids do very well into Votan because their anti-vehicle stuff doesn't work, and they have army-wide leadership 7. So
and you had 3
Neurolictors, yep, and Shadow in the Warp. It was this first game, again, beautiful army. He was in contention for best painted. Didn't quite take it, but he often does. It was a triple hecaton with a whole bunch of Hearthguard.
Cool.
It was a cool army.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's a cool army. From the middle of turn 2, I had pulled off some big charges with my Harspexes, and I controlled 4 of the 5 objectives from turn 2 onward. Never really letting them go.
And like you said, they just don't have the weapons to deal with Tyranids a lot of the time.
Not as much. Yeah, the Hecatons can't reliably take out monsters. They can if they focus fire, but 3 Harspexes is a lot. The melee warriors do all right into the Hearthguard, especially if they're battle shocked, because you're wounding them on 3s, and they can't armor of contempt, so it cuts them down pretty quick. It was just it was a quick and brutal game, pretty much. And then game 4, we played Votann again. Slightly more competitive, or actually a much more competitive army, and still a very nice looking army. This mission was the Sites of Power, which is getting characters on the center objectives to score bonus primary. And he had 4 characters, so he was positioned very well to score well on this. The big thing that worried me is the Sagittars here. So he had 4 of them. 3 of them have it's a strength 12, 2-shot las cannon with sustained hits D3 on them.
So potential to just do
a ton of damage. Yes, they only hit on 4s unless it's a target that has a judgment token on it. But I put my Maleceptor on the board. Normally I strategic reserve it, but I put it on the board, and 2 of the 3 Sagittars got in range of it, and both of them rolled 6s on their hits and got like 4 shots apiece.
Dang.
Yeah, after that, it was a turn 1 Maleceptor just gone. Didn't even get to use it in the game.
From 2 buggies.
From 2 of these little things.
Wow. Okay.
So I was really worried not having that Maleceptor at all, because she's very good at killing Votann, because those bikes are 3 wounds a pop.
Oh.
A lot of the little Terminator dudes, they're 2 wounds a pop, but the 3 damage is good to help counteract. Can they feel no pain? No, they can't. The little guys have feel no pain.
Still good at killing the Terminators.
Still good at killing the Terminators.
Yeah.
And then the -1 to hit bubble is great into Votann. So it's unfortunate not having it. So I was a bit worried.
Sure.
This hit list did hit a lot harder than the last one, but it came down to my screening ability that really won me the game. Between my Rippers, my Gargoyles, all my other units, my Biovores, my Spore Mines, I was able to screen out the entire board except for one corner for where you could put his 10-man Hearthguard squad.
Oh, yeah, 10-man deep striking?
10-man deep striking.
Oh.
And he waited, he didn't do him turn 2. He waited till turn 3.
Oh.
That allowed me to put my stuff down at the end of my turn and just filled the board with stuff.
You can't be doing that against Tyranids.
Yeah.
Or at least against certain lists.
We spent probably like 15 minutes trying to figure out if he could fit them anywhere else but this corner, like measuring dice. I'm like, I tried to...
That happened in one of our games too.
It did,
our
yeah.
doubles game. Yeah.
I really tried to screen you out, but if you can find something, then great. And we were looking and got most of it, but then there was a spot, it's like, you can't fit the middle model, so it was 2/2 of a unit. So we had to put him in the corner. And then he had essentially a 9-inch charge to get them into the game.
Sure.
He failed the 9-inch charge, he re-rolled it. He rolled 2 8s, which really sucked, but that kept him out of the game and pretty much sealed it for me, because that squad wasn't doing it. They couldn't even shoot that turn because where it was there was nothing in line of sight except for Gargoyles and Rippers and stuff.
Dang.
So that one didn't go so well for him. The MVP for me was the Wing Prime and the Melee Warriors. That Wing Prime, every single turn I have primary was sitting on an objective. She moved from objective to objective, so she got me a ton of extra primary points. That squad really got me 24 points of the 85 this game. Wow. And they did very well in melee, killing up Hearthguard, trapping the land fortress so it couldn't fall back, and then the warriors couldn't be shot. So it helped them a lot while staying on the objective. Overall, it was a good game, but again, Votann do very well Tyranids do very well in the Votann, just because the whole lead 7
profiles
always being battle shocked. It's just not quite what they were hoping for.
I'm glad your melee warriors did well.
They did well every game except for Death Guard.
I have a weird nostalgia for them in 9th when they were so good. Even though you beat me up with them, I think it's cool when the Warriors are so good.
Yeah, I really like them a lot. At least in Assimilation Swarm, I really like them.
This is a cool unit.
Then we get to game 5 again. So Chaos Knights. So right away, I can say that the downside of Renegade this year was that I only played 3 different opponents. And one of those opponents was the one army I didn't want to play against.
In the first game.
In the first game. Yeah. And none of the games were really close except for the one we didn't finish. So there was still, even the best game had a little bit of a sour taste left in my mouth. It was either get dumpstered or dumpster your opponent. So this game was, it looks closer. It was a 100-75 win.
Max points.
Yeah, actually on both of these, I had scored 110, I believe.
Wow.
But they cap you just because I went over on primary, went over on secondary. This one and the Votan one. So I joked Matt finished like 2 places ahead of me, and I joked that if you counted my bonus primary points, or my bonus battle points, I would have finished ahead of him.
Sure.
But not there. So this opponent, good opponent again. Like all of my opponents, I can't complain anything about them. He had 6 Brigands, which are that's the one right here on screen. So they have the Dragon's Breath Melta, and then the Reaper Chain Cannon, as well as the indirect missile on top.
So all guns.
All guns.
Wow.
Luckily for me, the terrain here was fairly dense. It was 6 pieces for each person, and they were thick pieces. So I was able to hide pretty well where he can only see 1 or 2 monsters a turn to shoot at. With my Fort Feel No Pain strat, that allowed me to at least keep Harusfexes alive longer than they probably should have been otherwise. The 6 Brigands is really terrifying. That multi-Melta is one of my least favorite guns to go against in the game. It's Melta 4. So if they get within range of you and they hit you and they wound you, Tyranid, they also, because of Brigands, get an extra AP against the closest target. So they are AP 5, so even with cover, no save, hitting on 3s, or hitting on 2s, wounding on 3s against a Harusfex, and then 2d6 plus 4, on average, they just pop one.
Just kill it, yeah.
On average, they do 15 damage to Harusfex.
Dang.
So, and that's just one of them.
Yeah.
And then they have the chain cannon and the missile launchers. These things are terrifying. It started out pretty good for me, where he got turn 1, which was very big for me because this was the mission of kill 1, kill more, hold 1, hold more. And turn 1, he did not kill any units, but he put a knight in range for me to kill because he had to for secondary points. I was able to kill that knight. So for 1 turn and 1 turn only, I got kill more, which was a nice 4 extra primary points.
Hard to do against knights.
Hard to do against knights. That's the only turn I did it. Every other turn, I had hold more, and then I at least killed 1 thing every turn. He had kill more every single turn except for the first one, and at least held an objective every turn.
Sure.
He had a couple other demons unit too. Like we said, the Siliski, the Demon Prince with the Herald on top of her.
Gotcha.
They had a unit of Nurglings or 2, and then he had one of the, I think it's the Changeling, the Tzeentch demon
with the hood.
With the hood, who causes you to potentially just not do anything when you target it.
Is that what he does?
Yep. So he rolls a dice every time you have to target it, you have to roll a battle shock check, and he rolls a dice. He picks a unit every turn, and he rolls a dice. On a 1, nothing happens. On a 6, your unit can't do anything, and it can't retarget.
Wow.
So I had it deep struck next to my Pyrovores, and I was going to shoot it, and he rolled a 6, and it just stood there, and he couldn't do anything. And then the Dragon's Breath Melta came up, and two of them gone, and the chain cannon finished off the other one.
Oh my god.
So it's an annoying little unit for secondary purposes. A good one to include in the army. I like the inclusion of it, because I think it's only like 70 points, if that.
Sure.
Maybe even 60. Again, it's a very back and forth game. I killed a couple knights, he killed a couple monsters, I killed some things. The big thing again, the Neurolictors, battle shocking at least 2 knights every single turn allowed me to just do the damage. My stuff was wounding on, my Harusfexes were wounding on 4s or 2s with the big stuff. Doesn't really have a good save in melee, so I was able to do enough damage, kill the knights. There was one Brigand who did a very good job of making a lot of saves, and it survived a turn longer than it probably should have, which really had me sweating it because that was damage I had to dedicate to it instead of other things. What happened in turn 4, cracked the game open, was I got, with Shadow in the Warp, I had a ton of stuff battle shocked, and I just did a full-blown assault.
So much extra damage.
Pyrovores came out to play because now they're winning them on 4s. I had 6 Pyrovores target one knight and did like 30 wounds to it or some stupid thing. Because 4 is twin linked with 3d6 plus, or 2 Pyrovore squads together is 6d6 plus 6 shots.
Wow.
Wounding on 4 is twin linked. And
How's
you link it
4s? Wouldn't that be 5s? No?
Strength 6 plus
Toughness.
1 to wound with battle shock because of the Neurolictor.
Are they toughness 11?
No, they're T10.
Oh, they're T10?
Yeah.
I was thinking they're
Even if
tougher.
they were T11, it'd still be
right.
4s.
I guess
But still.
only 12s, yeah.
And only 4 up safe. So
Wow.
they gutted one.
Cool.
The melee warriors came out and killed up a ton of them because, again, wounding on 4's twin linked is very good into them.
Neurolictors are everything.
They
for
make the
Tyranids.
army
Yeah.
what they are. We had one funny interaction where one knight exploded, which caused another knight to die, which caused that knight to explode.
No way.
We had so many mortal wounds. Two of my Neurolictors went into melee and then came out from the explosion with like 1 or 2 wounds each. So it was a lot of death
funny.
there. But overall, I mean, it was a good game.
Yeah.
I think the terrain and him going second or going first was what gave it to me.
Going first can be really tough sometimes.
Yeah, especially with knights in the dense terrain. They really want to go second to force you to come out so it can shoot.
Yeah.
But that's how that game went. Final thing to talk about, because this video has been going on, but is how did the Tyranids do? Because that's one thing you guys want to know. We had 6 Tyranid players, like I said, at the event. 1 Assimilation Swarm, me. 1 Synaptic Nexus. 1 Vanguard Onslaught, and 3 Invasion Fleet Tyranids.
Wow, so a lot of different ones.
A lot of different feels there, though a lot of the lists had some of the similar things.
Sure.
Outside of my list, I think everybody at least had a unit of Zoanthropes. Everyone had 3 Neurolictors. Everyone, on average, had an Emissary. 5 players had an Emissary. 5 players had an Emissary. 1 of them had 2, so there's 6 emissaries in the game.
That's a real commitment.
Lots of Exocrines, and everyone had 20 Gargoyles. So,
and 3
Neurolictors. Yeah, so a lot of the same things. However, there was a few things that popped up. So Tyranids only came out with 10.5 wins. The half is a tie out of 30 games, so only a 35% win rate.
That is crazy to me.
Yeah, it was rough for the Tyranids. And then 2 interesting stats I noticed is that they were, out of 4 games, they were 0% against Death Guard. So Death Guard, all 4. Actually, was it 5? No, I think it was 4.
Wow.
1 poor guy playing Synaptic Nexus had to play Death Guard twice. I feel really bad for him.
Oh my god.
But Tyranids were also 100% against Votann, 4 games.
That is crazy.
So, I don't know, those are the only, otherwise it was just very mixed, some wins, losses everywhere. But that's pretty much how it shook out for the Tyranids.
Jeez.
That warns, do Tyranids need a buff or anything coming up? I don't know. I'm curious to see how the stats over the remaining month or so shake out for the Tyranids going into the balanced data slate, which is says to be coming
early
in January. Sometime in January. There'll be a balanced data slate. I'm curious to see if they choose to revert any changes to the Tyranids.
I hope that Tyrannofex doesn't come back just for my own sake.
At least make them cheaper.
Definitely make him cheaper.
Make him cheaper.
Yes.
One guy was bringing Tyrannofex, and he was doing work with it, it sounded like.
It's just a shame that it was so short of a time that Tyranno was good.
So that's pretty much everything we got. Hopefully you found something out of this video that you found enjoyable. I had a great game. If any of my opponents are watching, thank you for the games. It is what it was. Connor and I had a great doubles game, so thank you for those games. I will be honest, I had more fun at the doubles events.
It was really fun.
The games were closer.
Yeah.
The rolls were closer.
It was fun playing.
It was
with
fun.
too.
It was fun playing and thinking tactically.
Strategizing.
Because I caught you on a few things, like, oh, let's do this instead, and you caught me in a few things, and let's do this instead. So that worked really well to bounce ideas off of. Again, doubles is tricky because with that bouncing ideas off of, it takes more time, so you got to be quicker.
I was shocked at how long certain things
took a while.
Yeah.
But still, I had a lot of fun. So definitely next year, and if we can find any other double tournaments, I will love to do those again.
Yeah,
those were
totally.
very fun. And I still had fun at the GT. It's just a shame the way my games worked out that it was, I got dumpstered, close game that didn't finish, and then dumpstered opponent. I won't say dumpstered the second Votan player or the second Knight player, but they didn't feel like nail biter close, which in a tournament I kind of want to have those games. You want to have those games that are close.
Yeah.
Or it's not like, yeah, I can kind of see this coming. It was, I want the closer ones where, nail biters like the Knights game was, the first Knights game was.
Sure.
But yeah, so that's everything we got. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Connor, for joining me.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you next time here at Mouse from Gaming Studios.
Peace.